takes the back burner to other things. Paul's saying something different. So let me walk you through why I say loyalty is taking a back burner. I'm a big sports fan. One of them is I love Miami Hurricanes. I love them. And the Miami Dolphins. Those are my teams. I used to watch every Miami Dolphin game until I started working at church, and now I just kind of keep up. Get them, baby. They're going to get them. But here we go. As we navigate through, I remember just being sitting on the floor in my living room, and my dad just yelling at the TV. I had a young boy just watching Miami football. I remember going to a Florida State-Miami game, going to Doak Campbell Stadium, and Miami gets beat 47-0. It was during the probation years. I'm walking out of the stadium throwing up the U like a gangster, and Florida State fans don't know what to do with that, and they're talking trash to like a 12-year-old. I'm like, you need to grow up. They're like, no, you need to grow up. But I followed them faithfully. The same thing with the Dolphins. And what I've realized in our culture, we have shifted from that, and players have actually shifted from that with the NIL. They're not loyal to their teams anymore. It's wherever the money is the most, right? But what we've shifted to in culture is we begin to follow players, right? We've moved from the team approach to this individual approach, like Steph Curry's my dude or LeBron James is my dude, and then we just all of a sudden have 40 jerseys in our closets. And what takes place is that's the same thing with players. They don't stay with the team. When I was growing up too, the one thing that was a non-negotiable was family. It was the unbreakable unit in our culture for a long time. It was like family matters, and you do whatever you have to do for family. Whatever. And now as we navigate through culture, 30% of Americans, 30%, say that they have no contact with at least one person in their family. What's happening to us? God has placed you in that family. Through thick or thin, through their deficiencies, through their wrongdoings, God is sanctifying you with a bunch of people that probably have maybe hurt you or scarred you. But what I'm worried about is my generation and the generation after us, we're so critical of our parents that I really hope our kids don't judge us the same way we judged our parents. And we've gotten to a place of individualistic, I'm better off without family. And God hasn't created us that way. Another thing I see that's fractured in our culture is friendships. There's very few deep and loyal friendships. Let me say this, and I mean this with everything in. I was telling my wife what I was talking about, and I said, babes, you probably don't even need to sit in this sermon because you're the most loyal person I've ever met. I mean, that's the God's honest truth. She would walk wherever I asked her to walk. And she puts up with some of my dumb ideas, and she's like, go for it, Khalil. You're going to figure it out, but go for it. Jonathan Freeman, our worship guy, most loyal guy you'll ever meet. And so what I've been fortunate enough in my life is to have loyal people around me. Some of you haven't experienced that, and there's something reassuring that no matter where you're at in life, there's these people around you who are like, I got you. I'm with you. And what breaks my heart is some of you aren't that person. And so as I navigate through this, another thing I see disloyalty in our culture is marriage. I'm not going to go through the statistics. We know the divorce rate is unacceptable in our culture, even amongst church members. But here's one that bothered me the most when I was looking at statistics. 60% of people admit to having an emotional affair. It's, hey, I'm not getting what I want from my husband or my wife, and so I'm going to go over here. I may not cross the lines, but what I'm going to do is engage in a way that makes me feel good about myself, fills up whatever voids in my heart, and I'm going to validate myself through the way this person makes me feel. And so we do this so often, and the reason we're going to see this, I'm going to talk about this in a moment, but we do that so often with God, and I'm going to show you what loyalty really means in the eyes of God. It's not just, I'm in it. I'm in it. Have I not gone anywhere? I'm in it. It's you have my heart. You have my heart. You have my mind. I'm not just physically in it. I'm really, really in it with all of my being. And this is where loyalty matters. And this is what true loyalty is. And we're going to talk about that in a second. The other thing is I see a disloyalty to the church in our culture. And let me say this very, very clearly. I understand church hurt. I get it. Some of my deep friends have been hurt from the church. If I didn't know my calling, I promise you this, the church would have hurt me. But I know where I'm supposed to be. And I understand the church is full of broken people. And I understand that the pastor right here, me, this guy right here, is broken. And so we show grace to each other, but we know what happens in the context of churches. This is what we need to be in a community of believers, holding hands together, praying together, worshiping God together, opening God's word and expecting him to show up. I get church hurt is hard, and sometimes it's hard to sit in a pew because it's like, oh, look, same old stuff. But hey, how about we change it? Like, right, the church has hurt so many people. But let me walk you through this idea of disloyalty to the church. Pastors are the worst in this. 18 months is the average lifespan of a youth pastor. I mean, is that fair to these teens? 4 years is the average lifespan of a senior pastor. Right? Some of you are like, man, I wish yours was 3 years. I wish you were out of here by now. Like, right? Like, oh man, he's coming. He's out of here. No, you're stuck with me until I die. You're going to bury me and you're going to enjoy it while you bury me. So as we look at this, I mean, it's just common for people to move from church to church. I don't like the music. I mean, you can pick us apart. You can. Oh, there's not enough hymns. Oh, it's too contemporary. It's too loud. It's et cetera, et cetera. Well, we got volunteers running the sound booth. Like, go get at the 18-year-old back there running it. Make them cry. Stop sending me emails about it. I'm just kidding. But as you navigate through it, what takes place is we get into a place where, like, we just become a consumer. And we throw stones and we criticize. Well, get in there and help change it, right? And what takes place is I don't want to serve that guy, man, he steps on my toes too much. Or he's like ADD, like he's just everywhere. And what I'm saying to you is, like, find a church that, man, you grow in Jesus Christ. Lock in, be committed to it, and be loyal to it. And what happens oftentimes, serve in it. Right? I wouldn't want my kids to think like, hey, you have an opportunity to leave my family and go join another family, right? No, you're here. You're stuck with dad. You're stuck with mom. Like, just because they do that over there doesn't mean you do it here. And my point being is, be a part of something. The other area where I think, and this is what we're going to talk about mostly today, I think a lot of us are disloyal to God. And we say we love him. We show up on Sunday. But deep down inside, he doesn't have our heart. And that's what really shatters me, right? Is we can talk the talk, we can even walk the walk, but like there's not really much loyalty to God. When that temptation comes, it's just kind of like, God, like you'll show me grace. Here's some statistics. In the last 10 years, 10% of once professing Christians now identify as atheists or agnostic. 40% of young adults reject the morals of the Bible. 40 to 50% of young adults identify as agnostics or nothing. 70% of youth who grew up in Christian homes stopped practicing regularly by the age of 23. 60% say truth is relative rather than absolute. Why? Because their parents' heart really was never loyal to God. That's one reason. And that's the reason I'm going to point out today. Could be other reasons. But you can say you love God, but your kids really know if you love God. You can say you walk with God, but your wife really knows if you walk with God. And so when what happens on Sunday morning, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, take off the mask, doesn't match up what's happening the other 6 days a week, you think your kids want that Jesus? And this is where I'm challenging myself. Do you think your kids really want that type of Jesus? And that's where we have to navigate through. Does he really have my heart? And I can't answer that for anybody in this room. You have to navigate through that because something has your heart. See, here's loyalty. And I think there's a great story throughout the Bible in it. There's this moment in 1 Kings and the Chronicles where David's about to die and he gives his kingship to Solomon. But he's worried about Solomon, and I'm going to walk you through the scriptures of what David truly believed. A man after God's own heart truly believed what loyalty looked like. And so they're going to put this scripture up on the screen. In 1 Kings 8:61, there's this passage in the King James. The New King James translates it a little bit better than the NASB. It says, "Let your heart therefore be loyal." So David writes to his son, this is what I want for you. I want your heart to be loyal to God. I don't want you just to act it or fake it. I want your heart to truly be loyal to God, to the Lord our God, to walk in his statutes and keep his commandments as at this day. Like Solomon, I'm going to die. I'm not going to be here. This is what I want for you. I want your heart to be so connected to God that no matter what he calls you to, you're saying, yes, Father, yes. He goes on and he's still concerned about Solomon. And you look at 1 Chronicles 28:9, and he says this, serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. The Hebrew actually reads this way, serve him with your heart of loyalty and a mind that is willing. So not only his heart, it's this aspect in, okay, God, my heart's loyal. This is what David's heart is for his son. Hey, this is where I want you to have a loyal heart, but I also want your mind to be willing to do whatever God calls you to do. And a lot of times he might have our heart, but the willingness isn't there. Does that make sense? I was convicted by this because I'm going to be honest. I have never once prayed for my boys, God, will you give my boys a loyal heart? And when I was reading this text, it's a new prayer of mine. God, will you give Judah, Justice, Jaden, and Kion? God, please give them a heart that's loyal. Don't just save them, but make their heart loyal to you. And make their mind willing servants. See, my wife has my heart. And if she asks for anything, I'm going to do everything in my power, willingly, to make that happen for her. I might think it out with my mouth, like, oh, this is going to take this and this and this, and then she's like, if you don't want to do it, just tell me. No, I'm trying to process what you're asking me. No, you don't want to do it. No, that's not what's happening. I'm going to have to move this. I'm sorry, I'm a burden, right? And it comes off that way. No, you're taking me the wrong way. But as you navigate through that, you know this. Like the people in your life who have your heart, you'll move the moon for. And this is where David's heart broke, and he was dead by then, but I'm sure he turned over in his grave. In 1 Kings 11:4, it says this, it came about when Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart away to other gods, and his heart was not loyal. It was not wholly devoted to the Lord his God as the heart of David his father had been. This is crushing. This is absolutely crushing. And this is the byproduct when we walk through the 66 books. It's like you have a generation that's loyal to God. And this is where I'm fearful for even our church. It's like right now we're loyal to God, but where will we be in 20 years? And this is where Paul's going to land in 2 Corinthians. It's like, hey, you may be devoted for a season, but this is not what God's asking. He's asking for a full heart and a full mind that's willing and in love with him. And it's part of our mission statement. This is loyalty. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, or your meod in the Hebrew, which means your muchness. My all, my everything. And you're like, Khalil, that sounds crazy. It doesn't, because that's how we love ourselves. Like as I walk through, and this is our human tendency. As I walk through the scriptures, what I see is story after story of people who were just loyal to God. The first 39 books of the Old Testament, it's constant. This is the story. God shows up. Thanks God. Worship, 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 worship. A generation passes, they forget what God did, and then they're bowing down before Baal. God sends a prophet. What are you doing? He shows up, and they're like, oh, and they turn back. And then just a generation passes, and again, they do the same old thing. And that's a story for literally 8,000 years, 6,000 years, however many years that was. It's a story. Then you come into the New Testament, and there's just this loyalty all around Jesus, right? Peter, the cross comes along, 3 times of denial. He goes back to being a fisherman. Jesus shows up on the shore. Right? The only apostle there seems to be John, and he even had questions. Judas. You get into literally 5, 6 chapters in Acts, and Ananias and Sapphira in the church are already disloyal to the church. It's our posture. I mean, go to the book of John 6. John 6. Verse 66. You got 3 6s there, so you know this is going to be an interesting verse. After this, many of his disciples turned back and no longer walked with Jesus. Jesus is heading to the cross, and they get to a place where it becomes uncomfortable, and they're like, I ain't following this guy anymore. And look what he says. And this is what's heartbreaking. So Jesus said to the 12, do you want to go as well? I mean, I look at Christ's life, and very few people were loyal. There's a few women. And he looks at him, he's like, are you guys going to walk away too? See, you get to the book of Revelation. And by chapter 2 and 3, and we're talking about 40 years after, 50, 60 years after Jesus Christ died, John writes a letter to the 7 churches. 5 of them. 60 years after Christ, 60 years have already become disloyal to the gospel. Paul, not far removed from Christ, you see book after book in the Pauline epistles, he's fighting Gnosticism and heresy, and they're biting it hook, line, and sinker. Like, this is our natural posture. And so when I look at this, what I see often is that when things get hard, something happens in our mind and we say, I didn't sign up for this. Like in John 6, right? I didn't sign up for this. I'm not going to the cross with you. I'm not going to die with you. I wanted blessings, and now what I have all around me is turmoil and war. See, that's what happens so often with the Christians. You look when Jesus was baptized, what happens? Satan tries to get to him immediately, right when he's starting his ministry. And I see this so much with young Christians. Immediately when they give their life to Christ, Satan comes at them, hook, line, and sinker, and they feel this spiritual tension, and they're like, I'm out. Like, this is too much. It was easier the other way. And maybe you're at a place where you got an unexpected diagnosis. Maybe it just seems like life's too hard, and so you're just kind of done with the God thing. Maybe just betrayal happened in your life, or God didn't answer a prayer how you thought he would answer. But this is where Paul lands. He's like, are you loyal to Jesus or are you not? And so let's get into 2 Corinthians 11, and we're just going to be verse 1 and 2 this morning. It says this, I wish you would bear with me a little foolishness. Do bear with me, for I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betrothed you to one husband to present you as a pure virgin to Christ. You'll see in these 5 verses this word for, and each of them are a point of why we have to bear with Paul with this foolishness. And let me give you just a quick background. Paul knows it doesn't take long for the church to kind of move away from Christ and the gospel. And he loved this church. He spent 2 years planting this church. He knew these people. He worked hard in order to watch some of them give their life to Jesus Christ. He poured his life into them. And he's looking at 2 Corinthians as we navigate through. He's looking at the Corinthians church, and all 13 chapters are saying, hey, don't leave Jesus. Don't forget your salvation. Don't forget what he did in your life. And you come into chapter 11, verse 1, and there's kind of a shift from chapter 10. And we talked about that in chapter 10, where he's saying, I'm not going to defend myself. I care, and we talked about humility last week. I care more about a relationship than being right. But then he comes into 11, and in 10, he's like, I'm a clay pot, like I'm a wretched sinner. He's saying like, hey, I need grace too. But we come into 11, and he says this, will you just bear with me for a second, because I need to defend myself, because if I don't, I think the glory of God will be removed. And I'm worried that you're disloyal. And so he goes into a posture. He's like, I need to answer a fool according to a fool. And he says, just bear with me for a second. And you see that in verse 1. He admits this is foolish, but he needs to defend himself for the good of Jesus, because there were still a few in the congregation who believed heresy. So verse 2 is where we're going to spend most of our time this morning. You're like, wow, we're just getting started? Yep, you're in for it. For I feel a divine jealousy for you. That's a huge statement that we look right out of the gate. He goes, I feel a godly jealousy for you. When I look at this, Paul's saying, I am motivated like God is motivated in jealousy. So I thought through this, because I had read a quote a few years back that the reason Oprah Winfrey left the church was because of God is a jealous God. And she's like, I can't serve a God who's jealous. And Paul is not, what Oprah didn't understand was this isn't human jealousy. When we think of human jealousy, what we think of is a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and this guy has lost his mind or this girl has lost her mind, right? Where it's based out of insecurities or envy, fear, or pride. And it's this situation kind of where you're on a date with this girl and you've been dating her for 2 weeks, and she leans over and tells you, I love you, you're the dream of my life. And you're like, oh no, this isn't going to end well. And you pull into McDonald's, right? And the drive-thru girl gives you, like, what do you want? You're really spending a lot of money on this girl. What do you want? And she's like, I'll take a number one. And the girl looks at you and she drops the drink. And you're like, it's okay. And you reach out. Don't worry about it. And you maybe touch her hand. And she looks at you. What was that? What are you talking about? You touched her. Do you like her? Am I not good enough for you? And all this stuff. Hey, she was about to cry. You like her, don't you? She's 13. No, I don't like her. Like, no. She works at McDonald's. No, I don't like her. What are you talking about? You want to leave me, don't you? And it just turns into this chaotic moment. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about a godly jealousy. And why is God jealous? And this is kind of shows you who he is. God's jealous because he's relentlessly committed to us. You have to hear me here. We read through the Bible and God is 100% committed to his people despite his people not being committed to him. You look at the prodigal son, look at the father waiting day and night for his son to return. You see these stories all through the Bible where he's like, just close the door of the temple. Stop worshiping me. You're not giving me honor. And like, we've given you this and this. No, you don't understand who I am. I believe with everything in me, if you knew who God was, if you know who he is, if you open the 66 books and you see this God and his magnificence and his beauty and his love and his kindness, his grace, you want nothing else in life. You're going to be so amazed and infatuated with him. He's going to become the love of your life. He's going to have your heart and your will. But here is, God is relentlessly committed to us. And we see that, like grace is like the waves of the sea. It never stops coming with God. Like some of us have messed up royally, and God has consistently shown us grace. He's so committed to us despite us. The second part of God's jealousy, it shows us that, man, he loves us. He loves you. I don't know what you've been told or what you believe or what Satan has put in your mind and your heart. I promise you, you wouldn't be sitting here today if God did not love you and didn't want to give you another chance. And I don't know how to tell you that. I mean, he sent his son to die. I'm not giving you my son. He loved you that much, he put your need over his own son's need. Third thing it tells us about God when we talk about God's jealousy is that he guards what's his. Like if you're his son and daughter, he's like, don't touch that. Don't touch it. It's not yours. Stay away from it. And when Satan gets his ugly claws in you, he smacks them. And you come running back because he's like, get your hands off my kid. Like he is relentlessly committed to you. He loves you and he's guarding you. See, here's what we have to get to. The jealousy of God is a turnoff for some because people are saying, don't tell me where I find my joy. Don't tell me that I need to love God. But for some of us, what it is, it's the relief that God, the creator of our souls, loves us enough to say they're mine. And I want nothing else in this universe to say that I'm theirs other than God. When you look at James, and this is our tendency, James writes, and he's writing really close to the church's formation. He says this, do you not know that friendship with the world is what? Enmity with Christ? He's like, some of you have one foot in the world and one foot in church. Do you not realize that when you love the world, that you don't love God? And then he goes on and says this, he yearns jealously over the spirit that he has made to dwell in us. He's like, the spirit that I gave you that lives inside of you saying, hey, what are you doing? Why are you going after the thing I created? Why do you find it more valuable? So why is God like that? First, he's like that because he knows his worth. Like he's all about his glory because he's the most glorious thing in the universe. The other thing is he has a zeal for your joy. So when you pursue these things, he's like, man, that's not going to bring you pleasure. You think it may, but it's going to destroy you. Right? My kids, they may think that ice cream is like one of the food groups. Like, man, this is going to bring me joy. I guarantee you, if I put a gallon of ice cream in front of my middle child, he'd eat the whole thing. And then what he's going to say is, Daddy, my belly hurts. My belly hurts. Bro, I told you. I told you. And then he's going to be vomiting. Why? It brought him immediate pleasure. But the consequences are grave. And that's what Jesus understands and God understands. It's like we want that immediate gratification because there's no loyalty and there's individualism. See, as we navigate through the Old Testament, the Bible talks about God being this jealous God. You see it in Exodus 25. He gives them the 10 Commandments. He says, there's no other God before me. And he says, why? The Lord is a jealous God. Don't do it. I'm not going to like it. Deuteronomy 4:24 says, the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. Very scary verse. Deuteronomy 32:16, they made him jealous with strange small g's, gods. God's looking and they're worshiping all these statues. He's like, stop. I mean, this is coming off the hills of him leading them at night by fire, parting the Red Sea, 10 plagues. You get it. Like, what are you worshiping, a golden calf? I literally just came down on a mountain and killed everything that touched it. And you said, oh, everybody, oh, God's holy. Psalm 78:58, they aroused his jealousy with their graven images. Here's where Paul's at when we come to 2 Corinthians. In Psalm 69:9, there's this verse, and it's quoted twice in the New Testament. It says, zeal for your house has eaten me up. Paul's looking at the Corinth church, and he's looking at these people he loved, and he's like, it's killing me inside. I look how you worship. It's just mockery. I look how you approach God's holy word, and it's not done in reverence. He's like, you pervert it, you pollute it, you corrupt it. You've corrupted the church. And you see this in John 2:17. Jesus walks in the temple, and they're selling things in the church, and he goes and starts flipping tables. And this is what he says. The zeal for your house has eaten me up. I can't stand to see the dishonor. I see so many churches, so many Christians, and I do it myself. I'm not throwing stones. We come to worship God with no reverence, with no passion, with no love. It's just something we do on Sunday. And church, he deserves more. Like, he deserves our heart. I've seen him in my life show up and time again be faithful. And I've seen also in my life time and time again me be unfaithful. See, I look at Paul and I see that his heart's broken. He has this godly jealousy for the Corinth church. And I understand his pain all too much. I have people in my life who I love so deeply. I just watch them walk down a road that's going to destroy their life, and they make themselves the center of the universe. Here's the thing about God. He has never once put me on the back burner. He's never told me he doesn't have time for me. He's never once blown me off. He never once has not provided for my needs. He's never once not been present. He's never once not seen what's going on in my life. He's never once not known exactly how I feel. And so when I look at this, he doesn't deserve my leftovers. When I talked about the 7 churches, there's one that stands out. It's the church of Laodicea. And that church, it looked like they had everything together. And you can read this in Revelations, the 7 churches. And this church had wealth, it had prosperity, they looked independent. And from the outside, they looked like a strong, godly church. And what I've realized about these 7 churches, we're 2,000 years removed after Christ, and disloyalty has consequences. In these areas where the 7 churches are, there's no churches. 98% of these areas are Muslim. Christ doesn't reign in a place where revival was breaking out once. Now, Jesus Christ is removed from the equation, and people get persecuted for following Christ. There's consequences for being disloyal, and it affects our kids more than it probably does us and our grandkids. And when I look at this text, Laodicea looked like they had everything together. And this is what Jesus says to them. I have one issue against you, that you're neither hot nor cold. What? You're neither hot nor cold. Why would he use that terminology? Well, see, back in the day, hot water had a purpose. It was a cleaning mechanism, right? It purified. Cold water had a purpose. It was refreshing. On a hot day, you would go and grab a cup of water, and you would drink it, and you'd be like, man, that was refreshing. What he's saying to this church is, you've lost your purpose. He goes on and says this, because you're neither hot nor cold, I vomit you out of my mouth. I remember preaching a sermon on this when I was a youth pastor. And I remember the kids looking at me, and I remember a few coming to me completely petrified of this passage. But it's a text in Scripture. And what Christ is saying is this. Either get in or get out. Either follow me or don't. Because what you're doing right now, you can say you love me. You can say that you're following me. I don't have your heart. You have no purpose in the kingdom. You're actually doing more damage to Christ. So let me walk you how this plays out, and I'm going to use an illustration. Say my wife cooks dinner. I cut into it, and I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, oh. She goes, what? And I go, oh, it's so good. And you just kind of jam it in your cheek, and you try to kind of hide it, and you're just like, and you're on the verge of gagging. And she's like, why aren't you swallowing it? I'm just savoring it, babes. Like, it's just so good. There's a party going on in my mouth. Like, I just want to sit here for a while. And then you're like 10 minutes in, and you're just like, babes, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And you go to the bathroom, and she kind of follows and listens in the door, and you're vomiting. And you come out, and you wipe your mouth, and she's like, why were you throwing up? The taste was so good, it just affected my stomach. I don't know what you... But there's this aspect of, it's like, no, you can say that it was good, but your actions speak louder than your words. You can say you love Jesus, but does he have your heart? So either get in or get out. And this may clear some pews. As you know, we need some space in here. So as we navigate through it, what I'm saying to you, either love them, like truly try to love them. And I would say this to any married couple who's about to walk down the aisle. If you're not going to love her, don't do it. If you're not going to love them, don't do it. Don't play the game. You're just going to hurt her. All you're doing by playing the game is hurting yourself. Putting on this mask that's not really there. And so as we navigate through the scriptures, this is what he's saying. Like, hey, do you have a purpose? Are you useless for the kingdom? You're actually doing more damage because you're saying you're a Christ follower, and people are looking at your life and they're saying, if that's what Jesus looks like, I don't want anything to do with it. See, I look in today's culture, I think we're more like Laodicea than we want to admit. We're blessed so much, but a lot of us and a lot of churches have become useless for the kingdom. So here's the deal. You're loyal to something. Something has your heart. Is it God? He goes on and he says this in the second part. He goes, I feel a divine jealousy for you, a godly jealousy. I betrothed you to one husband, Jesus, to present to you as a pure virgin to Christ. He lays out a story in the next two verses of him being like a father. And that he's like, I gave you to a husband. And so back in the day, it was similar today. You would get engaged, get on the knee, say, babes, will you marry me? Yes. And then about a year would take place before the wedding would actually take place. This was time for things to get prepared, a house being built, et cetera, et cetera. But it was also a time to see if they were going to be faithful to each other. And just like today, the dad would walk the bride down the aisle and he would present that bride as a pure virgin to her husband. And so during that year time frame, and this is what Peter's saying, he's saying, it's my responsibility until you go to heaven to make sure that you're pure with Jesus Christ. And so dads, this is a big responsibility, right? Your daughter that you're raising or your son that you're raising, one day they're going to walk down the aisle, and how you parent them is either going to cause issues on that marriage day or not, in that premarital counseling or not. And I want to present my kids in a way where it's like they saved themselves for you. And this is what Paul's essentially saying. Like, could you imagine walking down the aisle as a dad, handing your daughter off to this man, knowing full well that they're going to cheat on her? And you get that phone call and saying, hey, they've been unfaithful. I knew it. I'm going to kill them. And that's what Paul's doing. I brought you down the aisle to Jesus. Like, I introduced you to Christ. I'm your spiritual father. And you accepted this engagement. You were baptized, which is a symbol that you told everybody that you're a Christ follower. You have the Holy Spirit dwelling inside of you. And you couldn't even make it to the wedding day. And he feels this great responsibility. Paul paints a picture of him being this father, and he wants with everything in him to present them to Christ as pure. That's my job for you. And so we go to stories in the Bible like Hosea and Gomer. In chapter 1 of verse 2 of Hosea, God calls Hosea to marry a prostitute. It's like, what? I need you to marry a prostitute. Yes, God. She leaves after they have multiple kids, and she begins to go back to her old profession. And you see in Hosea 3 these exact words. God says, go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulterer, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel. Hosea, I know how you feel. Man, Israel's been so unfaithful to me. But I need you to show how I am to my people. Go and buy her out of slavery. He said, this is the gospel. Humanity unfaithful. God sends his son to buy each one of us out of the slavery of sin and our selfish inclinations. And he died on a cross. Because he was jealous for you and me. Because he loves you. Because he would go to great lengths. And he has gone to great lengths to save you. There's a story. Back in the 1920s, there's a story of a dog. And he had an owner he loved. And every day he would walk with that owner to the train station. And every afternoon he would go to this train station and meet his owner. Well, one day when the owner was at work, he died. And the dog waited and waited and waited. The owner never came. 13 years that dog did that. It caught world news. They put a statue of that dog in the train station. And he was loyal. Even if there was no response by the owner, he was loyal. Even when there was proven absence, this dog was loyal. See, loyalty is not tested in comfort. It's tested when you see no results and you know deep down inside, like, hey, this is worth it. He stayed true when others would have given up. True loyalty isn't about convenience, it's about a covenant. And here's the deal. When you gave your life to Jesus, you made a covenant. You gave your life to him. And he made a covenant to you. And he's been faithful, but I haven't. It breaks my heart to say that. We haven't. And when I look through and I think about this, what my heartbeat for each one of you is, you got to hear me. One day he will return. He will return, and will you be an individual who has oil in his lamp? Or you be that individual who, when he comes back, you're like, oh no, I wasn't loyal. And you try to go buy oil, but by that time the doors are closed and you come knocking and he goes, I don't know you. You were lukewarm. You never gave me your heart. You never willingly followed me. It was all smokes and mirrors. See, when no one's looking, are you loyal to God? In those moments when everyone's asleep and you're struggling, or you're just wanting to talk to your God, are you the person opening up God's holy word on their knees, dining with them? You know what has your heart. I hope it's him. I'm going to ask you to bow your head and close your eyes. In every relationship, there's a moment where you have to sit down with the person you love and tell them you're not okay, that you're struggling. You may have to confess a hidden sin that's been with you for a really long time. You may have to confess a dishonest moment. You may have to confess depression, or you may have to confess, like, I've been really angry or bitter towards you. There's these moments in All relationships, if they're deep, where you have to ask for forgiveness. And here's this moment with Jesus, where we have an opportunity to come and sit before him and say, God, I haven't been loyal. Like, my heart is somewhere else. I haven't been faithful. And those conversations are hard sometimes. But when you have them, trust is rebuilt. Hope is established. And I pray that grace is extended. But with God, I know it is. And for some of you, he's just saying, will you come home? Will you come sit with your daddy for a little while? Will you come and talk to me? Can I have your heart? That's what breaks my heart, is that he doesn't have it for some of us. And so maybe you need to come and rededicate your heart to Jesus this morning. Maybe you just need to say, God, like, you know what's going on, and you've been put on the back burner. I need to make you the focus once again. Whatever that looks like for you, will you just come? Will you just come and sit in the presence of your amazing Savior and enjoy him? Come on, church. I hope